What is up, everyone? Welcome back. This week we are bringing you episode 9 of Select Your Character. If you don't already know, this is the live, unedited deep dive into action figure news from the fighting game world and from fighting game adjacent properties. This week we are bringing you some news from Storm Arena, and then we're going to be looking at an interview that Juhn from Jada Toys did with Unparalleled Universe, where we got a lot of really great insights and behind the scenes stuff from the action figure world, as well as some insights into the future of Jada Toys action figure line. So I'm really excited to jump into that, but let's go ahead and get started since we have a lot to get through here. First off, we are going to be looking at the Storm Arena Baki dough line. 2 weeks ago, I believe it was a Monday or a Tuesday, we got the preview image for this Retsu figure from the Baki line, which usually means when they drop one of these promo images, it usually means the pre-order is right around the corner. So I was actually pretty surprised that it didn't drop that week, and actually didn't drop the following week, which would have been last week on Thursday or Friday. So we're still waiting on this pre-order to drop. So kind of crazy. Like the last handful of times they've showed us a preview promo image, the pre-order came very shortly after. So hopefully that doesn't mean there's some sort of backlog with releases or pre-orders or anything like that. And if you're a Baki fan, hopefully this will be dropping sometime this coming week. So keep an eye out for that. That should be coming very soon. But us Street Fighter fighting game fans, you know, kind of want to see this released already so we can move on to other figures like the Morrigan and the Balrog, which we're really excited for those to drop, and this is just delaying that just a little bit more. So hopefully this pre-order will be releasing this week, and then shortly after, I'm hoping we get the Morrigan and the Balrog. Now, some other Storm Arena news. We also got a release of the brand new variant from Dan Hibiki in his like minty lime green colorway. I'm not quite sure. The sprite makes it look like a nice minty green, and this colorway I'm just not liking that much. Like, I guess it's close to the in-game sprite, but this is giving like Imodium anti-diarrheal medication vibes in this color. It's kind of giving me a stomach ache just looking at it, so I'm not a fan of this one. But if you're collecting the full rainbow of Dan Hibiki colorways, this one is releasing out of China, so if you know any proxy buyers, reach out to them. They should have these available, or if not, these should be popping up here very shortly on AliExpress. I do like the yellow gloves, but that weird, antacid Imodium green color, not really a fan of. But next, let's go ahead and we're going to jump into the interview from Juhn and Jada Toys. But as soon as I move to this next slide, it's going to start with the video. And I chopped up the video and the 2-hour interview that Unparalleled Universe did with Jada Toys, with Juhn from Jada Toys. And there's just a lot of nuggets of really great insight there. So we're going to be going over some of my favorite pieces, and I'll be interjecting with some of my commentary. But as we jump in, the first thing that is being asked from Juhn, or of Juhn, is are they going to be restocking the battle damaged invincible exclusive figure? And this is what he had to say.
Thought about it and talked about it, but it would kind of like affect the other figures we're trying to produce right now. So I don't know if it's worth, because already I know people are not happy about like how long it's taking. It would slow down even more wave 1 coming out, you know. Honestly, a lot of our...
So as you heard there, they had thought about it pretty seriously, I'm sure, just because of the demand and how unhappy people were that it was like selling out so quick in person and online. So I think there's a lot of people out there who wanted to get their hands on the figure, but just were not able to based on the demand for this invincible line. So they've thought about it, but it would push back some of the production for Wave 1 and other figures, which if you're a collector like me, you don't want to see that happen. I don't want to see more delays for the Wave 1 of Invincible line. It was already pushed back from November to January, so we don't want to see that. Now, Juhn does talk quite a bit more about the delays and things that are sort of holding them back. as an action figure company, as they're growing, they're kind of experiencing, I think, some of these growing pains in the production side of the company, and we dive in that quite a bit here. So up next, Juhn's going to be talking about production times and delays, and just give us a little more insight into that.
Delays, like in general, is more of a factory capacity situation at this moment. So that's something we're trying to work on, whether finding more factories or building like relationships with the existing ones. So that's actually like one of the main things we're trying to do in order to speed up the process of, you know, getting more figures produced at the same time, instead of like, you know, everything just funneling in like, oh, we got to do Invincible, we got to do Street Fighter, and they're all like waiting in line to get produced.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So as you heard him mention there, like they do have a limited production amount that they can produce at any given time, and that's all dictated by the production of the factory. Now, they don't own their own factory. I'm sure they're working with a large factory that does action figures for multiple different lines. We don't know what that might be. We don't know how big of a percentage Jada's taking up of that production quantity, but you know, it's not as easy as just, you know, putting in an order form and pushing a button and having China produce extra figures. There is like a structure. There's like a finite number that their factory can produce at any given time, say like a year, and they have to work within those restraints, and they have to make decisions based on, as he said, like the funnel. So there is like a funnel at the end of the production cycle where things have to sort of go in order one at a time. Like they have to do Scooby, and then they have to get Street Fighter, and then Invincible. Like they can't just be having everything being produced in multiple factories at the same time, which of course is going to cause delays in releases. Now, he does give a lot more insight into this. We're going to hear him talk about some reasons why that is, like being sort of a small to medium-sized fish in the larger action figure pond, and that, you know, there isn't even a lot of factories out there that are producing like quality action figures that they would want to work with. So we're going to get some more insight into that, and let's hear what Juhn has to say here.
Yeah, so I think that's kind of been like the way we've done it, but I think at this point and for the next like phase of like our action figures, we should try to uphold that quality and produce faster. So that's kind of because like at every like phase we had like a different like goal.
Yeah.
You know, like now I think that's kind of like the focus for me, is to try to maintain that level of quality, but to have it go through the process faster.
Will Jada Toys be?
And that's really great to hear. Like they are aware of this new phase, as they're calling it, right? Like they're aware that Jada Toys is growing into the next phase of their action figure sort of level. They're experiencing these growing pains, and Juhn's focus currently, he says, like over the next year, is to put the structure in place to find the extra resources, to build new relationships, to allow for them to produce at the pace that they want to, so things won't take as long to come out, so we can get more waves of figures coming in faster, but also to keep the quality that Jada is known for. Because I think you can kind of rush these things out. You can go to like, you know, side factories that don't do as good of a job and things like that, but there's just a lot of different factors, a lot of different cogs in the wheels of making a quality action figure like Jada is known to produce. So really great to hear that that's their current focus, is producing great action figures and upping their resources to produce more faster. Love to hear that as a collector, and can't wait to see those things start to fall in place. We get more into that later. We get more insights into the factories, which I love. I love to hear that sort of stuff. I love to hear the inside baseball. I love to peek behind the curtain to really understand better like what is happening behind the scenes of these companies that are producing my favorite figure lines. So really great to have Juhn here. Again, shout out to Unparalleled Universe for this stream. It's a 2-hour stream go check it out on his channel. Go follow him if you don't already. I wouldn't have any of this great insights if it wasn't for him doing the stream with Juhn. So shout out to Unparalleled Universe once again. And here we're going to get into a question that is asked of Juhn. They are asking if Jada Toys, their Alpha 3 line, and their Invincible line will still be carried in big box retail stores like Walmart and Target.
Be going to other bigger stores, or any of the other lines that you guys do be going to bigger stores like Street Fighter did?
We're trying. Like, I don't know if you've noticed, but like even like the toy space at like Target and Walmart is like changing.
Yeah, for sure.
Like if you go to like a Target now, they have like a whole like collector blind dedicated area.
And I'm sure you guys have seen that. If you're out there toy hunting or you're just shopping at Target and checking out the toy aisle, it's changing so much. That new collector area, like, we thought it was going to be like NECA and figures, but it seems like they're really diving into the hottest trends right now, like little blind box figures and squishies and trading cards and those sorts of things. So I feel like that a lot of that is still up in the air. Even earlier this year, Target mentioned that they were going to be cutting their toy section in half, which is really crazy. It doesn't seem like they've done that yet, but if that's their goal, the toy section in Targets is going to change even more. And I think we're even seeing that a little bit from the Walmart side. Walmart isn't making as drastic of changes, but it does seem like they're trying to maybe pull back a little bit on like the adult collectibles and targeting more of the kid-friendly toys and making it more of like that sort of a toy section. So these things are always changing and always evolving with the market. But let's hear what else he has to say here.
And like the back wall is now like all like trading cards, you know?
Yeah, and games like I don't know if it's role play games or what they are.
Yeah, so they're constantly like evolving the space to try to like match like the consumers. So I think in the next couple of years they're gonna be more focused on collector, which is, what we do. We do like kids toys, but in the action figure space, it's more like the collector side. So I feel like once that type of strategy is more implemented there, we could definitely be a part of that. I mean, that's the goal. But honestly, for me, even if we're not part of that, I don't really care personally. Because like our Invincible stuff did really well. The pre-orders, like we're not even at Walmart and Target.
Yeah, and you're kind of split between what, like Entertainment Earth and Big Bad pretty much, right? And then like whatever small.
And the thing is, like, honestly, like if we were at like a Walmart, let's say, we're under more pressure to refresh more. So for sure we would have to sacrifice like some quality to make sure we're keeping their fresh. So like I was saying earlier, how we want to speed up the process but maintain the quality, that kind of like naturally will play into being more mass retail friendly.
So that's also some great insight, as he was saying. Like, I really do hope that Target does make that collector section more of like an adult collectibles, where we can get some of these cool figures and action figures and don't just like solely lean into all these little like cutesy blind box toys and things like that. We'll have to wait and see. But as Juhn said, he doesn't really mind that they don't get into retail. So if he says they're actively trying to stay and maintain in the retail spots, but that they did well enough with their Invincible pre-orders without Target and Walmart, that they see a viable future without the big box retailers, just providing for these more niche collector online retailers, where I think a majority of their fan base is buying figures these days. So they might not be in big box retail and focus solely on that, which is okay with me. It is fun to go into a retail spot and find one of these figures on the shelf, but if you're like me, most of your shopping for these is done through Big Bad Toy Store and GameStop and Entertainment Earth, and the convenience of pre-ordering these figures is a lot better than going to like all these different stores. So I think that's changing as well, as far as collector habits and how they purchase figures. But we're going to get a little more insight in this next clip. into again improving their structure and improving their resources in China, where they manufacture, as well as their talent and the people they have working for them here in the U.S. So let's hear about that.
I think like currently you guys are pretty much at your capacity, like for all those things that you're trying to juggle. Like,
yeah, I would say so. So that's why for the next year, that's kind of going to be my focus, is to increase that, because it's not just.
I mean, you the structure, like you've been doing that, right? That's why you like, I always make fun of Adam, but I think that's probably a big reason why you brought Adam, right? Like,
yeah, for sure. But that's only like one. That's like building up our U.S. team.
Right, yeah, you got to build.
We have to build up our China team. We got to increase our factory capacity. So like, yeah, slowly we're trying. Like all the components need to be built up together. We can't just hire like 10 superstar like toy makers in the U.S. That's not going to fix the problem, because we still needs to match on the other side.
And that's really interesting, right? Like again, just talking about peeking behind the curtain and seeing what's going on behind the scenes. I think as collectors, we lose sight of that, and we just see this as like a machine that just pops out action figures. And there's just so much more that goes into that, especially with a growing company, a smaller action figure company, a newer action figure company, a small fish in the big pond of action figure collectibles, and how they have to navigate and move through that pond to get us the quality figures, at a decent rate. And I love to hear that that is Juhn's focus moving forward for the next year, is building more relationships, building that structure to allow for them to grow and flourish. As I said, it feels like they're experiencing a little bit of growing pains currently with the demand of their Street Fighter stuff, with the demand of the Invincible stuff and all of the side stuff they have going on. They're also wanting to innovate and do new things and new properties, and I love to see that. But it's really great to hear that Juhn himself and that the company at Jada Toys is really focusing on building up the other side of it, the side we don't see, that deals with the production and those relationships and those resources overseas. And we get a little more insight here, where you start to talk about like it's more than just putting in an order. It's more than just making a phone call. There's like relationships and politics involved, and he's going to talk about that here in just a sec. Let's take a listen.
Right.
Yeah. Like, just like honestly at this point, factory stuff.
And right here, someone asked, like, what is the main thing that's holding them back? Because as you said a bit ago, like they're pretty much at their capacity right now, as far as being able to produce the amount of figures they need, like do new properties. Like they're pretty much tapped out. They need to expand. And someone asked, well, like, what's the main thing holding you back? And as you see here, he says it's pretty much factory delays that is the biggest holdup. And then we're gonna again hear some more about why that is. And this part's really interesting to me.
Main thing, yeah.
Well, because like the thing is, like, you gotta understand, like, there's only so many factories making action figures specifically.
Yeah.
And if like the Hasbros and the Mattels and the NECAs of the world are already like established in that space, like there's going to be like gatekeeping.
Oh, for sure. 100%.
So it's difficult to navigate, because it's not just simply like, it's like it can get political, or it can get like, like relationship, like, like if you were a factory and like I was making figures with you and some other company wanted to work with you, like, and I was super close with you, I'm like, hey, don't work with them, like,
yeah.
But like,
so you hear that, guys, like it's it's all based on relationships. Like it's not as easy as pushing a button and the factory being able to automatically produce 10, 20, 30,000 more figures for you within a specific timeline. You can't just go to another factory and say, hey, like my current factory isn't like making enough figures, like can you pick up the slack? Like I don't think it works that way. Like as he's saying, like these factories are businesses as well. They don't want you to take like your business elsewhere. They don't want you to work with a factory that they don't like. uh, as a producer, like he said, like Hasbro might not want a smaller company to come in and use their factory to produce like a Marvel versus Capcom character, because they're currently doing like their Gamerverse line, right? And especially being the smaller fish in this pond, Juhn does mention like they don't have the power to push other people out. If you have a factory that is like producing X amount, these bigger companies are going to have the power to, you know, limit these smaller companies and push these smaller companies out and things of that nature. And he says that also happens with licensing, like, you know, like the Playmates he mentions and Ninja Turtles, and how Mattel picks it up and they have the power to say nobody else is making Ninja Turtle figures because they're big enough and they have enough money and they have the power to do that. So there's a lot of politics involved with finding new factories, with building additional resources. And as he said, there's not a lot of factories out there that are producing action figures. Like it's probably you know, not a huge section of these factories are doing the kind of figures they need made. And you have these big people making figures, you have indie people making figures, and you know, there's a lot of different sort of, you know, weaves and bobs I'm sure you have to do when dealing with some of these like brokers. You also have to have a relationship with these brokers who are representatives of these facilities, who might have relationships with other companies as well. So it's not as easy as just submitting an order form and getting the figures mailed to you in a month or two. Like there's a lot that seems to go into this. And as Juhn said, that's one of the biggest things that's like holding them back and causing delays for them currently as an action figure company. So again, just great to hear that they're actively working on remedying that and improving that. And I hope to see the fruits of that and that effort here in the next year or two. He does mention some of the QC issues with the SDCC Invincible here. So I wanted to let you guys hear that.
One thing I will say is like some of the issues we had with the release will be fixed for the like mainline one. Like for me, the main thing was the hair.
Oh yeah,
so that's gonna be improved for like the mainline one, and just like small things here and there. So yeah, even if like there was some minor issues, that should be like fixed by the time wave 1 comes out.
Yeah.
Again, really great to hear. As I said in my last episode of Select Your Character, episode 8, where we focused on the QC issues that Jada experienced with that figure, that even though they had to like rush some of those figures out and not spend as much time, or the factory didn't have the capability to spend as much time, and it caused, you know, a variety of different QC issues. It seems like they're aware of those things. He does mention like the hair piece specifically not fitting right. I'm sure they're aware of like the arm joint tolerances. That was a big one, and some of the joints and the paint issues. So I'm sure they're aware. I'm sure they, you know, keep their fingers on the pulse of the online communities as well as their own customer service. And it's great to hear that they are actively working on fixing those things, and that all those things should be fixed come wave 1 of the Invincible line releasing in January of next year. And I think that's, again, talking about delays, you know, fixing these QC issues, I'm sure pushed that back a little bit. Dealing with, they said, 3 times the amount of pre-orders that they were expecting from this Invincible. So just having to produce so many more figures, all those things just cause delays. And you know, it starts to you know, shine a light on the entire picture. It's really easy as a collector to be like angry or upset that these things get pushed back a little bit. And you know, it's not always, but it's just, you know, interesting to hear all of the aspects that go into it, because usually we're not thinking about those things when we're like, you know, getting upset and writing a nasty comment as to like why something isn't coming out exactly when we wanted it to, or as quickly as we wanted it to. Of course, we're still going to address those things when things are pushed back, or when things miss release dates or deadlines. Like, I think it's still worthy of calling those things out, but it is nice to get a small peek into some of the reasons why that is happening. To wrap it up here, I asked a bunch of questions over the span of this 2-hour live stream. A lot of like legit questions about figures and the future of the company and stuff like that. And then of course here close to the end, I asked just like a stupid joke question, and of course that's the one that Wade like hones in on and asks Juhn here. So I made this joke question and I asked, where does Juhn get all of his like clean black teas? As a fellow like black tea enjoyer, he's always in like a nice clean black tea. So as a joke, I asked that, and of course he asks that, but at least it gets a good laugh out of him.
Cool. Juhn get his clean black teas?
I mean,
the black tea store?
No, it's not like just one specific brand. It's just whatever. I don't know.
But I thought that was really funny. Of course, that's the one question I asked that gets answered. But really great interview and stream with Juhn on the Unparalleled Universe channel. Again, shout out to Wade and Unparalleled Universe. Of course, that's where we're getting all of this footage from. So I have to give him props and kudos. Go give him a follow and leave him a comment and a like and all those things. Go watch the full 2-hour stream. It's funny. If you know his streams, they get silly at times, they get completely unhinged, but it's usually a fun time, and I just like all of the insights that we get out of these interviews with Juhn. So great to see that he's also doing more of these interviews. It had been a while since we've seen him on one of these streams and just talking and chatting with the community. So hopefully we get more of these here in the near future, because we always learn something new. And again, the person like me, I really like to get the insights of the behind the scenes stuff. Like that stuff really intrigues me. I love to learn about that side of the business. You know, we all know the collecting side and the content making side, but I want to learn about what's going on in these factories, what's going on in the design phase, how are they making design decisions and everything like that. So that's the stuff I'm really into. Hopefully we can get some more of that stuff out of Juhn and out of Jada Toys here in the near future. But hopefully you guys enjoyed that segment. I thought that was a lot of fun and really insightful. So if you did learn something from this little segment where we took the tidbits from the stream with Wade from Unparalleled Universe, be sure to drop a like. If you've made it this far, please drop a like. That helps push it out to an audience that might not actually be seeing it, pushes it out to recommendations, and helps us grow the community here. If you've watched this far and you aren't a subscriber, what are you doing? Please subscribe. We would love to have you here as a part of the community. If you love fighting games, action figures, toys, articulation, in-depth reviews, and unedited live deep dives into stuff like this, please consider subscribing. We would love to have you here as a part of the Damien Talks Toys community. If you have some hype points, feel free to drop some hype points. That helps this video get seen a lot as well. I'm trying to get one of these Select Your Character episodes to 1,000 views. That's the goal. We almost did it last time. We've gotten so close. So thank you guys, each and every one of you, for watching. Thank you for spending a half an hour of your day here with me. Hopefully you enjoyed yourself and learned something new. And I will catch you guys in the next episode. Peace.